Hello there, and welcome to the Mercer Knits Knitting Podcast. My name is Caroline. I am a knitter here in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I make these little videos just to chat about knitting. I knit a lot, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I tend to talk to myself about knitting all the time anyway, so I figured, why not try to become part of the knitting community here and talk to a camera about it, since I talk to myself anyway. So I kind of talk about the normal stuff, what I'm working on, what I'm thinking about working on, what I've finished, all that kind of jazz. My last video I filmed in early April, and I didn't post it for I think 2 to 3 weeks. For no reason. I meant to edit it and I just never got around to editing it. And then by the time I finally posted it, I was like, well, I clearly don't want to edit this. So I just posted it in a raw form and I went with it, and it's fine. Not that many people watch this anyway. So I was like, it's not that big of a deal, but maybe I'll edit this one. Maybe. I tend to be like, if I have the momentum to edit right after I'm done filming or within like the next day, then I know I'm good. But if I don't, things get a little dicey. But it's been really cold here, which is nice because I get to wear my knits, but also it's been kind of crappy, very gloomy, in like the 30s most days. We had 1 week that was in the 80s, and then it dropped right down to the 30s. We got more snow. But right now, thankfully, we're not getting snow anymore. All the snow has melted, and we're just getting a lot of rain, which is fine. It's very cozy, but most days I'm driving in the rain. It never seems to happen on my days off, which is good because I've been taking a lot of long walks. I'm taking a trip to Washington and Oregon in June, so I'm trying to get into hiking shape again, which I need to work harder at. I need to work harder at. But that's not the point of this. I'm wearing one of my finished objects. I don't think I'd even cast this on yet in my last video. But I knit it and I finished it really quickly. I think this took me 3 weeks to knit. And this is my Delacour cardigan. I have it open right now, but it fits pretty nicely closed as well. I've just been wearing it mostly open. Let me stand up. So it's a cropped cardigan with little slightly bell sleeves and this square neckline. I'll button it up here so you can see what it looks like buttoned up. It works really well with my A1 blouses because they also have a square neckline. So I think they fit pretty nicely together. And wow, actually, okay, these buttons, I needed 9 buttons and all the buttons I had were 8. So I went to my local fabric store, Treadle Yard Goods in St. Paul, and I got these buttons and I really wasn't convinced about them, especially after I bought them because they were really expensive. I don't want to talk about it. The woman said, like, when I was like, I think I'm gonna go with these, she was like, do you know how much, how much those are, right? They're like $4 a button. And I was like, it's fine, it is what it is. No, it's not. I should have gotten the bone buttons. I don't know why I just said that was fine in that moment. The bone buttons were 50 cents a piece. But I got these. They're shell. They're actually black, but they're really reflecting green. So I'm happy with my choice, even though I think these cost me $30 some. And then she was like, do you want like a fourth button or a 10th button just in case you lose one? And I said, if I lose one of these buttons, I'm cutting them all off of this and I will use them for another project and sew different buttons on, because I am not buying a 10th button. So I didn't. But yeah, this is what it looks like when it's closed. It fits pretty nicely. The sleeves are more of like a bracelet length, which I think was a very good choice because I didn't have that much of this yarn left. I think I have the ball. One sec, let me dig around. Here it is. This is how much I had left at the end after both sleeves. I had 3 skeins of this. And I think if I'd made the sleeves much longer, I would have run out of yarn. So I'm really glad that I constructed this the way I did. I'll go into that a little bit, because it really left me able to make sure that the sleeves were gonna be long enough, not too long, but I got like all the important bits like the yoke done before my sleeves, which I think worked out really well in the end. So I knit this in the round and I steeked it, which was my very first time steeking. But I have been burned a few times with bottom up sweaters having too long sleeves or just not being quite right. And at first I started knitting bottom up sweaters, so I was like, it's fine, it is what it is. Like, I just shorten them automatically, and then I kind of try it on and I gauge where the arm's eye is going to end, and then I just would normally knit them like significantly shorter, and they worked. But I'm tired of that now that I've started knitting top down sweaters. Like, wow, I really like being able to make the sleeves the way I want them. So I knit this guy bottom up in the round for the entire body. And then when I went to where you would normally add the sleeves onto the body for the yoke, Cucumber, are you gonna jump up? Where you would normally just add the sleeve stitches on and then start the yoke, I used a provisional cast on the number of sleeves I knew I would need. I had to do some math because there weren't a lot of stitch counts. There weren't a lot of stitch counts in this pattern, like being like, at this step, this is how many stitches you should have. It was just kind of like, there. That's Cucumber's crazy chair, so she might go a little wild over there. Anyway, so I did the math, figured out how many stitches I would need, used a provisional cast on, and then I knit the entire yoke and cast off. And then I picked up the provisional cast on and knit my sleeve down. Worked out really well. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. The steeking was scarier. Everyone always says, like, you don't need to be afraid of steeks. Like, everyone's very scared. It's not that scary. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. It was terrifying. This is a really rustic yarn. It's the Hillesvåg Ask base, and it was dyed by Fable Knitwear, and it's the Lothlorien color. And it's really rustic. Like this, it's soft now that I've washed it, but I think a lot of people would find this really scratchy. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's that bad. And I think it's helpful that this is a square neck sweater, so it's not on my neck or my chest and my neck, because those are the spots that I find scratchy. My arms and my torso are fine. But I was like, it's so rustic. Like, you're not going to be scared. The stitches aren't like going to go anywhere. It was scary still. Like, the stitches did, like, the initial stitch just would like immediately come unraveled, which obviously, but it was very spooky. I didn't find until afterwards, go figure, a crochet reinforcement tutorial that I liked. So I was gonna do that, and then I decided I didn't want to because all of the tutorials were kind of assuming a knowledge of crochet, and I kind of hate crocheting. I don't like the movement, isn't very fluid to me. So I'm gonna take this off, it's hot in here. So I decided instead, and then I can show you my steeking, to do a sewn reinforcement. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get out my sewing machine. And then I was reading and somebody was like, well, you can just do a back stitch by hand. And I used to do quite a bit of hand sewing. When I lived alone, I initially got into sewing. But before I lived with my mom, I didn't have a sewing machine. So I did a lot of like small hand sewn sewing projects and a lot of embroidery. So I'm pretty comfortable hand sewing and I'm pretty fast. So I cut it and I sewed it first and then I cut it, and I really should have probably picked up the button band first of all. And I think the crochet reinforcement looks better. Like, I saw a video later and I've saved it, but I don't know if I could easily find it. But I found this beautiful reinforcement that just had like a little flappy band of the steek stitches, not folded over or anything, and they just had a neat little crochet line. And I kind of wish mine looked like that, but it doesn't. It's fine. It was my first time steeking. And so what I did was I sewed a backstitch line with a linen thread first, pretty close to the middle, I think. And then you can kind of see it. It's a white linen thread. And I did one of those on each side of the steek column. And then I went a little further back and I did a line of, and I don't know if you'll be able to see these. I think you can almost see it, but I did it with the same yarn. So there's like a line right here right there of backstitch in my yarn as well. And I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. And then I folded it over and tucked in the end so that the frayed edges weren't showing. Down here, it didn't really work very well, but by the end of this side, it was pretty good. I'm happy with it. For a first time steeking, I'm fine with it. And then this side, there isn't really very much fray showing. It's pretty neat. And then I just picked up the button band, picked up the neckline, and she's good to go. Very cozy, super cute. I think I immediately started getting compliments on this sweater. And I was like, thank you. It only took me 3 weeks to knit. She's beautiful. I love how cropped it is, but it's not quite like as cropped as my A1 blouse is, which is good. My other finished object is my Skylark socks, and these have been blocked and everything. This is a pattern by Fox and Folk, I believe. So cute. And I knit these in Explore Knits and Fibers Petrichor on their sock base. I don't remember which sock base. Do they have the one called Denali? I don't shop a lot from Explore Knits and Fibers, but I'm not a big superwash gal. But yeah, this is them. I really like them. I think the stitch counts were all a bit weird. I think I could have knit the smaller size with fewer stitches probably. As it was, I knit a bigger size and I went down at least one needle size to get a tighter gauge. The gauge or the recommended needle size was pretty large, and I didn't gauge swatch because I never do for socks. But yeah, it has a pretty simple heel. I've worn these once, but with docks, so it's been kind of decimated. I don't think this had a slip stitch heel on it for the gusset. I think it just had a normal heel, which I was not gonna go for, so I added a slip stitch heel. And then it has this nice little garter bump along the side of the flap, so it's super easy to pick up stitches along there. I really liked that detail. And yeah, it's knit top down, so I think one of these took me like probably 2 days would be my guess. It was a very fast knit. It just was a matter of me actually sitting down and doing it. So I like them a lot. I'm very happy with them. I do think the yarn choice maybe wasn't the greatest for this pattern because it's not close to my natural skin color, but it kind of is, right? So when I stick my hand through, it's just not, there's not quite the amount of contrast that I feel like you would want for the eyelets, but I still really like them. I think they're very cute, and that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I'd recommend this pattern for sure. Whips, I have 2. They're both basically half done, so which is really exciting. I normally like split up my knitting into kind of months, and I'm trying to knit a pair of socks every month this year, which so far I have been successful. One pair was for my brother, but the rest have all been for me, which is good because I want to build up my hand knit sock collection. But I kind of break up my knitting thoughts into months because I know I can knit about a sweater a month and probably a pair of socks on top of that, and that's probably it. And so if I'm doing a lot of smaller projects, I probably won't get like a full sweater done, but that's not that important. That's just how I think about my knitting. So I started what I would consider my May knitting a few days early because I was speedier than I thought with my sweater and my socks. Very exciting. So I started my May pair of socks, which I've been wanting to knit these for months now, and I finally started them. So I have 1 sock finished already. And I would guess these socks probably would really only take me like 2 to 3 days per sock if I was focusing just on them. But I have not been. So it's taken me a few days, but these are the second breakfast shorties, technically, is what the pattern is called. They're designed to be shorties. This is not blocked, so it looks really, really wonky. But yes, they are these really pretty socks with this little, I haven't even woven in the ends yet, with this little lace pattern. Very pretty, and a little alternate color, toe, and edge. And normally when you knit these, once you're done with this, you just go straight in to this picot edge, but I don't really want shorties, so I continued it for another 40 rows, and then I did the picot edge. And this is a folded picot edge, so it's flaring a bunch, and part of it is like neater. Like the beginning of round is really wonky for some reason. Like, see how the beginning of round wants to like fold down like that? It's like I didn't pick up the right stitches for the beginning of round. I'm not sure, but then it gets really pretty neat there. And I did the method where I like pick up a stitch below and do that. I might instead do the whip stitch for the second sock in an attempt to get it a little neater. And I'm hoping that with blocking, this will sit flat, because it fits around my foot just fine, but I don't like how that looks. But yeah, I'm super, super pleased. I knit these in the Farmer's Daughter fibers, or I am knitting them in Farmer's Daughter fiber Pintler sock in the Dandelion colorway. That was, I think this was April's Sock Squad colorway. So I'm doing it. When I got this one, I initially thought, because I've been looking for a yarn and a little contrast yarn to knit these socks with for a while now, for like the perfect sock set for these. For some reason, I've really like pushed them up into like primo importance in my brain, and it needed to be perfect. And I thought these were really good. They just feel very, like dandelions just feel very hobbity to me, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but they do. So I'm doing it, and I'm really, really happy with them. I think they're super cute. I'm very excited to knit the second one. I'm going to cast it on today and probably try to get at least the toe and part of the foot done. And then I think I can probably have these done by the end of the week, which would just be amazing. So that is my first whip. Loving it. I really, really like that pattern as well. I do think for the second sock, I'm going to, they don't suggest changing this motif for the second sock. There's technically no left and right sock, but I'm not sure if it's just for my size and my stitch count. It's a 64 count sock. It's not even. So on this side, you start with a purl stitch and then you go straight into this mock cable. And then it has this twisted rib and the mock cable, or twisted stitch. But then on this side, you end with a twisted stitch and then a purl stitch. So I think what I'm going to do is just reverse it for the second sock. So the twisted rib one comes first, and then the other side just ends with the mock cable and the purl, so that there is a left and a right sock. And I think that will also work well because I goofed up on my heel flap here. You can probably see it. At one point, like right here, when I did It's a Partridge stitch heel flap, at one point I was doing like a, what am I thinking of? I think you end with like a purl two together or something. And I must have just automatically been thinking about short rows or something and purled two together, then purled one. So I pushed it out one extra stitch, and then I was like, that's not looking right. But when you're doing, since these are knit toe, they're knit toe up, when you're doing it, you're like decreasing the gusset at the same time as knitting this. So I didn't want to deal with the fact that like if I were to frog back, I'd also have to somehow get that stitch somewhere else also. It probably wouldn't have been that hard, but I didn't want to do it. So then it took me this long to figure out what had happened and that this was an incorrect stitch count. So I just purled two together instead of grabbing the next stitch for one round and got it back to its original stitch count, but it looks wonky. It's just a sock. It's not that deep. It's fine. The second one will not be doing that. So that is my first whip. My second whip is very fun. I forgot the book. Let me go get it. My second one is this guy. This is Hugo. He's a zebra. And I'm knitting him with his little dungarees. His dungarees are not going to have a star. They're just going to be plain, and they're going to be green. But I have a cousin who is having a baby, and her baby shower is like while I'm in Seattle is when she's having her baby shower, so I'm not going to be there. We're having a family wedding in Seattle, and for some reason the baby shower is the day after. So I was like, even if I wasn't extending my trip to go on a road trip with my best friend and go camping and hiking, even if I wasn't doing that, I still wouldn't be able to make the baby shower because it's the day after the wedding. So I am knitting her the zebra, and I need to have it done before I leave. So I'm knitting this guy, and I have almost all the pieces done. And I'm hoping to finish, I have the tail left, and then I am going to block it. And then I'll probably add the fringe to the tail and the head, because it gets like a fun little fringe, and then seam it all together. And I'm hoping that I can have it done, seamed together, stuffed, like the actual toy, not the clothing, done by the end of this week along with this sock. That would be so good, because I have yarn coming in from Lovecrafts. They were having a sale, and this yarn was on sale, so I decided to buy some to make my cousin Liz one of these as well, since she's having another baby. She's having a baby girl, and I know her family isn't like an anti-gender roles baby family, so I was like, they probably would want a stuffed doll that looks like a little girl, whatever. So I'm gonna knit this one, and I am going to be playing some yarn chicken because I needed 2 balls of black for the zebra and 1 ball of the moonstone. Lovecrafts was sold out of the moonstone. They were not sold out of the black, but I only have 1 body part left to knit, and I have to do all the seaming, which I don't know if it's gonna be in black or not, but I have this much. This is almost a full skein. So there's not that much black on this guy, so I think I can get by just fine with that leftover skein. And if I can't, my local yarn store does sell this yarn, so I can go pick it up if I run out of either. I just didn't want to order more than have it sitting around, because this isn't yarn that I would use for anything else. I also ordered stuff to make the clothing for her and the clothing for him, so I'm hoping that I can have the zebra all finished up and ready to go by the time that yarn gets to me. It has already shipped, but then I can just get going on the tiger and try to get that done as quickly as possible. But let me show you the little pieces, because they're pretty cute, and they've been really fun and engaging to knit. So if you're interested in knitting stuffed animals, I would recommend this book. It's very engaging, and it's just fun to watch everything come together. It's not that complex. You don't really use short rows for anything. Yeah, I don't think I've come across a short row in this. It's all just like increasing and decreasing at the right time, which is really cool. So let me find all the pieces. They all have very long tails because they tell you to do that because you'll use them to seam it. This is the body. That's the other way. So they've got spots for his legs. And everything's very rolly. So, and I am not good at color work. I have never really done color work. And this has at least stripes, so hopefully they're not bad. But you knit them flat, and then you seam them all together. This is the body. We've got 1 leg. And this is the head. This is his head. Hi, cucumber. Okay, hi, hon. Where are you gonna go? You're just gonna sit right there. Okay, that's fine. 2 arms and a leg. The arms have a little thumb on them. And another leg. You're gonna bite me? You're so mean sometimes. Hey. She's just grumpy. And then I have my 2 ears, which I think you seam the back so that they look like this, and then you like pinch it so they look like that. which the ears were knit. I think it's technically considered like Fair Isle, but so my floats, questionable. Yeah, so those are all those pieces. I just have to finish up the tail today and then get them soaking and blocking so that I can do that. And I still have this much moonstone left. I'm not sure if this is gonna be enough, but I'm willing to try. I really am willing to try. So that's the plan. I'm excited. I'm having fun. I know I'm gonna hate seaming it together. So that's why I'm planning on blocking them out and making sure the edges are really crisp so that hopefully it will make the seaming process easier. I don't really like seaming. I don't like doing mattress stitch, so I don't anticipate enjoying that portion. She's gonna bite me again. God, you're so rude. What else? Yeah, those are my current whips. I also need to knit that tiger, but I don't have the yarn yet. So I'm kind of thinking I might have time to do one more thing this month. That might be being super duper optimistic, but yeah, I figured I would talk about, sorry, it's got a message. I figured I would talk about kind of what else I'm thinking about doing this month. So I kind of have two options. I realized recently that I have the perfect amount of this Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in Dusty Artichoke, a color that honestly I like, but I'm not, okay, I say that as it like perfectly matches my wall basically. I like, but I'm not obsessed with. It's just a little cooler toned than I would like. I think I would have preferred the color Lamb's Ear or something, but this is the color I have. I think I just got it because like everyone gets it. So I think when I was placing my order, I got the cardamom, which I have in an A1 blouse, and then I got this. I'm really worried you're gonna knock over my water glass. Can I have it? Thank you. So I have the perfect amount of that to do the Moonset Tea by Ozetta. That is on very small needles. I just don't know. Anyway, okay. So that's one thing. It's on very small needles. So I don't think I could get this done this month. I think I could get it started. So that's something I'm thinking about because I'm also starting to think about what knitting I want to bring with me to the West Coast. So I know I'm going to bring at least 2 things of sock yarn, maybe even 3, and knit some socks. I don't know what patterns I'm going to knit yet, but I know I'm going to do that. What else? And then I was kind of thinking a bigger project because I can't just knit socks for 2.5 weeks. My hands will hurt. So I need at least one different project. So I was kind of thinking the Moonset Tea, but that's also knit in silk, which also hurts my hands, and it's still knit with relatively small needles. So it might not be the best choice for me to make. I really want to knit a shawl. However, I don't think I have the yarn that I would want to knit a shawl in, and I need to stop spending money. So I'm not allowing myself to buy yarn for a shawl until I've worked through a good chunk of my stash. I just need to stop. I have so much yarn. I have so many planned projects. So my other thought was another A1 blouse in this. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm obsessed with this color. I'm so obsessed with it. This is the Long Dog Yarns One Collection to Rule Them All. I'm sorry. And it goes this way. Look how pretty the ball band is. Ooh. Or the, I don't know, I don't think is it called a ball band still when it's on skein? But this is the shade Deep Breath Before the Plunge. And I saw this shade and I fell in love. So I placed a very large Long Dog yarn order when this pre-order happened. An alarm set. I remember I was at work. It was a terrible day at work. It was just me and one other person for like the entire evening. And we were so busy. So finally I get a moment to sit down and take a break, and it was perfectly the timing that it needed to be for me to place this order, which thank God, because I remember I was still at work and I was looking at it because it had slowed down, and I was like, oh my God, it's closed. Like if I hadn't managed to place the order, I wouldn't have gotten it. So I'm really happy I managed to place it. I bought 5 skeins of this in this fingering weight, and that was because I knew 2 skeins would get me an A1 blouse. And then I was like, well, 3 skeins could get me a fingering weight sweater. Specifically, I was thinking about the lento. So I also have 3 skeins of this for the lento, and I have mohair that I was thinking about holding it with. However, she has announced that she's doing the second pre-order, and the second pre-order will have mohair. And I think if the first pre-order had had mohair, I definitely would have ordered at least 2 skeins of this, probably for the lento in mohair. But it didn't, so I didn't. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, so my plan is now to save those 3 skeins. Hopefully, if I am lucky enough to be able to order from that second pre-order, I'm going to allow myself to order. I would only need 2 skeins of mohair to make the lento with that. So I think I'm going to allow myself to order 2 skeins of mohair. That's it for it. Because my other mohair would have worked fine, but it's Cloud from Knitting for Olive, if you've ever seen that one. It's more of a pinky based cream, white cream. And this one does have some pinky mauviness to it, but I didn't really want that to be like the main thing. So anyway, that's not the point. That's a way future knitting plan. But this one will be an A1 blouse. And I'm thinking if I start this soon, I could get this done before I go on my trip and have it to wear, which would be pretty nice because I actually wear the crap out of my A1 blouses. I'm wearing one right now. I literally hated knitting this, but it's so good. I love this shirt. So this is actually the recommended like 400 yards for 100 grams fingering weight, whereas this one was a lot thinner. So I think this would be an even better one. I would love to do that, and I feel like I will. I was thinking the Moonset Tee would be nice to start so that hopefully I would just be knitting in the round when I got to Portland, but that might also be boring. So I don't know. I have to do more thinking about what my knitting plans are going to be other than the socks, because I would really like to have this for the summer. I just kind of don't want to knit it. So I'm kind of thinking maybe it's not the shirt for me then, if I don't want to knit it. Maybe I should wait for Florence Mills. No, oh my gosh, Florence Mills. Isn't that that's a celebrity? No, Florence by Mills is that one person, Millie Bobby Brown's brand. Florence Miller is releasing a fingering weight t-shirt pattern eventually. I think it's going into testing. So I might hold out for that with this guy because it looks really good. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of using this, knitting the A1 blouse. It's very, I can't get like the natural color because my room is quite dark, but it's very pretty. I'm very excited. I don't know how stripy it'll be because like this one's pretty stripy and I'm okay with it. Speaking of stripy, the Delacour cardigan. I completely forgot to talk about that. I did alternate skeins because I had one skein that was super brown, which you can see on the body is where I was primarily using it, and the yoke. I didn't run out by the time I finished the yoke, so I had a little left over to put into each sleeve. So you can kind of see where that color stops. It's the darker brownier color. And then where I went into just using one, because I was alternating my first 2 skeins. This used 3 skeins for the body and the yoke. And I think part of only one of the sleeves also had a little bit of that in it. And I kind of tried to like slowly do it and then use it. This is the second sleeve I knit. I can tell because this first sleeve, the moment I ran out and I started just using the one ball of yarn, I got this insane color pooling. So here, this side is like super light, and I'm not letting it bother me. I'm not letting it bother me. It just so happened that every single time I would go around, the light part of the skein would be on this side and the dark part of the skein would be on this side. And it kind of is doing this like wavy pattern where there's even lighter bit here. So it is what it is. And then also when I was knitting back and forth, it got really stripy. So I think after a little while, I just kind of stopped using it, the brownier one here, because I didn't like how, because I was knitting back and forth, I was doing 2 rows of each color and I didn't like how stripy that was. So I think I stopped and I just started using one color, and then I picked it back up and used it again for the sleeves. So yeah, there are definitely some areas of color pooling on this guy, but it's not the end of the world. And the bottom half of the sleeve is just that one skein, and it's better, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of all I have today. I don't have any new yarn, and I also don't really talk about new yarn on here, other than I got my sock club, but that was kind of it. Sock club was not my fave this time. It's very bright, but I mean, they're socks, so I'll knit it into something, and maybe I'll give it away, because I tend to like, I don't know what I like in socks yet in terms of color. I tend to wear more muted and like calm tones in general. So yeah, we'll see what I do with the rest of the month. But yeah, I don't know. It's good. I'm excited. This month it's been very busy with work. Almost every single week I've had to do at least a little bit of work on one of my days off. Like today I had a meeting. It's my day off, and I had a meeting, and I have to go into work for a store meeting, because I couldn't make any other day as my day off work. So I think I'm getting to the end of that, hopefully. And I'm going to start kind of putting my foot down in terms of all the, because a lot of times it's just like one meeting. I'm like, I'm tired of it. I don't want to have meetings on my days off, but it's kind of the nature of the job. So yeah, it's been really busy. Hopefully that's coming to an end. And then in like a little bit over a month, I'm going on vacation. So that's really, really exciting. I have to break in my new hiking boots, because I've never actually owned hiking boots. I always just go hiking in my tennis shoes, and I feel like we're planning on doing some more intense hikes this time. So I don't want to be a mess, and I don't want to wear my tennis shoes. So I bought some hiking shoes. I need to break them in. They are not waterproof, and we're going to be at the Hoh National Rainforest. So we'll see how that goes. They might get really, really dirty, but I'm really excited for this trip. We're going to kind of be doing a mix of camping and staying in Airbnbs, which is nice. It's never 2 days in a row camping, which is good. I'm getting at least one new tattoo. I have a full day session scheduled with my tattoo artist who has worked on my legs. My lower legs are pretty well covered in tattoos. So he moved out to Portland, and I was really sad because I was like, well, dang, I kind of don't want to continue this with another artist. I'd like my lower legs to be finished by him, but at least like the main pieces, and then things like gap fillers, I'm fine being done by a different artist. I would just rather everything be done by him. But I was going out, so I reached out, and I was like, I would love to have a full day session with you. So that is going to happen. I'm very excited. I have no idea what they're gonna be. I think one is gonna be like, because we tend to do like palm-sized tattoos. It's a patchwork sleeve. And one is going to be a weapon of some sort. I think I suggested a flail. Because my legs are kind of symmetrical. They have, like, one has on the front, it has, I think it's a tiger. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, one has like a tiger, and the other one has a goat. And they both have like a ton of eyes, and they're really weird. And then my knees are both floweral. I have little quirky animals playing instruments on like the outer half of my calf. And then I have two vampire ladies close to my ankles. And what else? Oh, the back of one of mine is Baba Yaga's hut. And then we need to find something to kind of play off of that, which I don't know. I think I suggested a burning castle, because I like burning building tattoos, and they tend to be churches, which I'm not religious, but my problem with burning church tattoos, and the reason why I wouldn't want one on me, is that they tend to look like Southern Baptist churches, which just makes me think of the Ku Klux Klan. So I don't want that personally on my body. I see them on other people and I don't think about it in that way. And I don't think it means anything. And I think it looks like a really rad tattoo. But for me, I think I would just think about it a lot. So I don't want that. So I think I suggested a castle. We'll see what he does with that. Yeah, that's the plan. But yeah, because of that, I'm going to be doing that. It's in Portland. We're spending the night in Portland. The next night we're camping. So I have to find a way to keep that sucker clean. It's gonna be a little tricky. I think my artist doesn't use, I don't even remember what it's called, the tape. I'm spacing on it. That tape that you put on and it like suctions to it and keeps it clean. My artist doesn't use that. I might buy a roll and keep it with me so that during the day I can just I can clean it, put a fresh sticker on it, go on my hikes, do whatever. It'll probably be uncomfortable. I don't really like using that either. Both my arm tattoos used that, and it really irritated my skin. Like I had, and I still kind of have discoloration from where the edges of the tape were. It like scarred me. So I don't like it, but my tattoos healed just fine, even though I had that. So I'm thinking I'll probably get some of that, clean it, and then every night I'll take it off and I'll give it a good wash and I'll go to bed. Or maybe put a new one on. But then once it's, at least for the first day, because then once it's scabbing, I wouldn't want to be putting that on and then taking it off again. I'm going to think about it. But all the campsites we have like showers and stuff. And I'm pretty well versed in cleaning things in bathrooms. I've had to do that before at work. So I think I can make it work. I think it'll be fine. It's just like one of my legs is going to be an open wound. So makes camping very interesting, which is why I'm glad we don't have multiple days camping in a row. So every time we get to an Airbnb, I can take very good care of it to make up for potential shoddy care while we're camping. Yeah, it should be fun. And we're going to be looking for the like phosphorescent plankton the first night that we're there, because it's going to be a new moon. So it'll be really dark. That should be fun. I'm just excited. The last time I was in the West Coast, it was only for a few days because we took a road trip out because my best friend moved there and I went with her on like a road trip out to move, and it was just us and her little Prius. She really downsized her stuff. That would be tricky, but yeah. And then we got to the place and they were renting this super cute little place in Cannon Beach. I literally dreamed about that place. It was perfect. I wanted to stay there for the whole summer too. It was so cute. It smelled like it smelled just like my family cabin on Madeline Island. That is to say, kind of like mildew and Labradors. But that's perfect. It was so good. So I really liked it there. We only had a couple days and we were pretty tired, so we spent a lot of it resting. But this time, hopefully we have more energy. We'll be going on some longer hikes. It should be fun. Hopefully the weather cooperates with us though, because otherwise that'll kind of suck. But I think that's all I really have today with that long little ramble. I think I added another 10 minutes to this video. So if you stuck around, thank you. I'd love to know what you're working on, and I hope that you're having a nice beginning of May. I hope it's spring, actually, wherever you are, because I know it's technically spring, but it maybe doesn't feel like it. I think everywhere has been kind of cold and dreary. So I hope wherever you are, there's sunshine and flowers are starting to come up and you're able to take a nice walk or do something to enjoy being outside again, because winter sucks. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, I hope you're getting a break from all the heat and starting to get ready to get cozy, and that's like the perfect time for knitting, isn't it? So yeah, I hope you have a nice day and a nice week, maybe a weekend, depending on when I post this. Thanks for watching. Bye.